Let's start this video off with a question. Do you believe that Diablo 4 is going to be able to survive the official launch of Last Epoch on February 21st? Because I don't. If you had to give me three reasons to play Diablo 4 over Path of Exile or Last Epoch, what would they be? Because I can't think of any because there's nothing that Diablo 4 does better than Path of Exile or Last Epoch. There isn't. They haven't had funner seasons, they have worse systems, they have no build diversity, they have no end game, they have no crafting. They lack more than they actually have. The only benefit to Diablo 4 is nostalgia. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I cannot think of a single thing from Diablo 4 that I'm like, you know what? That's better than its competitors. That's better than Path of Exile and Last Epoch. I can't think of a single thing. And honestly, that's kind of sad because if you think about it, Last Epoch is what Diablo 4 could have been. It's that new player casual ARPG experience that people were wanting, right? A lot of people said they wanted an easier ARPG experience than Path of Exile, and I totally get it because you can put 500 hours into Path of Exile and still not know a lot of the systems, right? Path of Exile is insanely complicated, so I can understand people liking the concept of ARPGs, right? But not wanting to play Path of Exile. And that's why D4 was so popular at launch because it was that simplified version. It allowed the entry for that casual player into the ARPG genre. But then players started getting 50, 70, 100 hours in and realizing, okay, there's actually nothing for us to do. So they got bored and left. And then the seasons came, and the seasons were so uninspired that they're pretty much at a 33% success rate, right? In my opinion, season two was the only acceptable season from Diablo 4. If you look, everybody, well, at least majority of the players despised the first season. People played the second season and they're like, oh, okay, maybe there is some hope. But then the third season apparently was a dumpster fire as well. So they made two steps forward and they took 12 steps back. It literally makes no sense. If you compare that to something like 11th Hour Games and Last Epoch, where they're extremely receptive to the community, and the players say is kind of what gets implemented. I mean, look at trade, right? Trade wasn't an original concept, but there was enough feedback from players saying, hey, we want a trade system. They read the feedback and they're like, okay, since this is actually something the players want, let's implement it into the game. But we have to take the time to make sure it comes into the game correctly, right? And that's essentially what they communicated. They said, okay, we'll give you trade, but in exchange, you have to give us time to work on it because we don't want a shitty trade system that can be abused. We want to make sure that if we implement this, that it is implemented correctly. And you know what happened? The first trade system that we got wasn't very good, right? And the player base was vocal about it. We essentially said, we don't like this. Something else, please," right? And since, the devs are very receptive to feedback, instead of just being like, okay, we'll work on it, or, well, it's all you're going to get, they came back with more of a response of, what do you want then? And we can see if we can come up with something. And that caused a little bit of a divide in the community because half of the community wanted something more solo self-found based, while the other half wanted trade, like a regular auction house trade. And that's what helped inspired probably the best trading system that we've seen in ARPGs. where it doesn't matter if you want to play in more of an SSF way, where you just get better drops, but you can't trade them. And it's more of that like Iron Man journey experience, just with better drop rates as you progress. Or if you want that more casual softcore trade experience where you're able to buy stuff off an auction house, they came back with a response that said, okay, we'll try to give you both what you want. And since we haven't experienced it yet, the concept is all we have, but the concept is insanely good. So it's just insane to me where we have these indie studios like GGG and 11th Hour Games that are, respectful and receptive to community feedback and work with their players to pump out really good games. And then you have the flip side of the coin with a AAA company that makes billions of dollars saying that, oh, yeah, no, we'll get to it when we get to it type thing. It doesn't make sense. But if anything, it's better for us because now we get to support people like 11th Hour Games and GGG who are actually receptive to the player base that they cultivated, right? Where we are more likely to give them money. If GGG or 11th Hour Games was like, I'm putting out a $500 supporter pack, I am much more likely. I mean, I don't have $500 to waste, but I'm much more likely to put it into one of those companies than I ever would Blizzard. And that's pretty much the point of the video. But what do I know, right? Maybe Diablo 4 will somehow thrive in the wake of much better games being put out. Maybe the die-hard Diablo fans are going to stick to it because they like the abuse from Blizzard. I don't know. But don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay up to date with this and future content. I am going to be doing a bunch of Last Epoch content, especially now that I'm done playing Power World for right now, until the start of the next Path of Exile season. And until next time, take care.